All right, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, first and foremost, we have to give all the praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh,
Bahashem,
Bahashem,
Yahweh Shai,
Yahushai, Bahashem,
Rakakwadash.
Rakakwadash. All right, double honors and respect to our apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and taught us this truth. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect in the one third, your brother Salah.
Barak.
Yeah, all right, and today's lesson, man, it's gonna be, we gonna be focusing on the MOTB and how basically this new bill called the Genius Act is going to affect our daily lives as well as other topics such as Jay catching hell on the job, these like this one video here featured by Shalom Israel 777. I suggest if your brothers and few sisters haven't subscribe to this brother's channel. He brings out edification to the body, right? You know, but we're gonna be opening up with we're gonna be opening up with the scripture in Revelation that that everyone should know by now. Oh, so this is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16, and it says here, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man may buy or sell, save he that have the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600 threescore and six. And if you look at the number 666, or Slakia, 600 threescore six, in the Strongs, it's
Strong's G 5516. Chi, Xi, Stigma. Chi, Xi, Stigma.
it's Chi Psi Stigma. So that yeah, so these are Greek letters, right? Chi Psi Stigma, and that translates to 600 to 666 as a numeral, right? As you see right here, Chi Psi Stigma 666. Right. So the number is 666, right? And where do you see those numbers most prevalent here? Well, there's the three big bars on every barcode. That's how it's like to buy and selling, right? Because if you don't have this, you cannot participate in Esau Edom society. The so-called white man, right? And what Caesar Nero, aka DJT, what he's about to issue, right, is this thing called along with the big beautiful bill is the Genius Act, right? And it's going to be focused more on crypto. Oh, monetizing crypto, right? Right. So we're gonna watch this video here. This one's from from Buddy Brown. But before we play that video, right, we're gonna read the we're gonna read the copyright disclaimer. All right, so disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and education and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right, so with that, we're gonna play this video. No, Slovakia, that's not it. Here it is. All right, here it is, Brother Brock.
All right.
This video is 7 minutes. The title is called "Something Biblical is About to Happen with the Genius Act" by Buddy Brown. So here it is.
Top of the morning, y'all. If you're raising kids with knives in your pockets and Jesus in their heart, and they learn how to drive a truck.
By the way, his name's not Jesus. It is Yahushai. Jesus is a false name. Please stop calling on the name Jesus. Jesus literally means earth pig, right? Right, and his name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahushai, and he is a so-called black person or Negro, right? And he's here to save the Israel, who the Israelites, who consist of you mainly Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but don't get it twisted, right? you Israelite foreigners or you speckled birds, right, that may look like the other nations, that may look like, so-called white people, Asian people, Arabic people, Pacific Islander, whatever, man. If your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and any of the 12 patriarchs, man, then you are an Israelite, right? So let's continue with the video.
Before they could do multiplication, you're definitely at the right spot. This right here is just some tailgate talk that I want to share with y'all, just like I would talk to a bunch of friends around the bonfire. It's summertime. We do a lot of talking. Down here in Mississippi, we visit, right? And this is just one of those things I want to visit with y'all because it's crazy to watch some of the moves Trump's making. A lot of his enemies are scratching their heads. A lot of his hardcore supporters, like most of us have been for the past many, many years, are scratching their heads. And are there anybody at home at all that's noticed that, Trump says he's a Christian. Does he know Bible prophecy? Are you watching the stuff that's going on? Because I know we all want Jesus to return, but we really got to ask, does Trump actually know the Bible prophecy? And he's trying to actually accelerate everything as it goes right now, because it really seems that way. Because how are you going to tell me that Trump is going to make a peace accord with the Jewish and the Arab nations, okay, and not realize about the whole peace treaty thing between Israel and the other nations in Israel? How are you going to tell me that he's going to push the Genius Act through, midnight a few nights ago? The Genius Act, which basically lays the groundwork for a cashless society, which we're going to talk about today. Very, very scary stuff. And not know about the beast system. You know what I'm saying? And how's he going to make this peace accord with 3.5 years of his presidency left? Y'all notice that? Bible prophecy, it has to be fulfilled. No matter what, God's going to fulfill it. He will use whatever or whoever he needs to accomplish Jesus coming back and all this stuff being done that is written. So get this, y'all. I want y'all to settle in and think about this, because I've been asking myself, hold up just a second. Wasn't Israel and Iran just on the brink of World War III like 2 weeks ago? Do y'all remember that whole thing, or does it seem like ancient history? Or was the whole thing just a huge distraction? Was it all theater at the expense of the real people who unfortunately got killed over there? Do y'all think that our government is actually a bunch of freaking angels? You know what I'm saying? Every single time a war erupts, do you know what I do? I watch the headlines.
So lucky, I just want to interject. No, these are just men. The Lord uses men to do, to fulfill His will, to fulfill prophecy, right? And we're gonna cut that right now with scripture real quick. So it's gonna be the king's heart is in. All right, so this is a book of Proverbs, chapter 21, starting at verse 1, and it says here, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim El Shai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it wheresoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts," meaning the minds of men. Why? Because he puts the thought in the minds of men to fulfill his will, right? All right, verse 3, "To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice," right? Right, right. So basically, there, right. Those first three verses, the Lord, Yahweh, right. He puts the Spirit, right, on these men, to do certain things, just like with DJT or Caesar Nero, implementing that implementing this digital currency. Why? Because that MOTB has to get pushed out, right? Right. That's why they're doing these things. And again, no, these are just regular men. These are not angels, man. So.
Watch to see if any secret bills get passed. It's a poker game, and our government's most famous tell, and again, a game of poker, it's called a tell. Our government's most famous tell that it's got is going ahead and passing secret crap like the Genius Act. I want y'all to think about this for a second. They got this Genius Act thing through in the middle of all the chaos, okay? The citizens doom scrolling about all the Middle East stuff and the Epstein stuff and the Texas floods. I got caught up in it myself, I'll admit it. Y'all know that. You've been watching this channel. We're all trying to figure it out. But think about this. There was a 12-day war over there, y'all. A 12-day war. We had missiles, we had explosions, and then all of a sudden it just disappears. You know what I'm saying? I call total BS. So while we were all caught up in that theater, they passed this Genius Act, which basically accelerates the digital dollar infrastructure, biometric ID integration, and financial behavior monitoring. It's all there. Read about it in the Genius Act, and nobody even blinked. Nobody even blinked. And here's the deal about this whole Genius Act. It doesn't just replace money, it replaces identity. We all become programmable under this thing. And this is going to make a cashless society very, very soon. I don't think it's going to take more than just a couple years at this point. If we all have a digital...
And one thing I'd like to add, that was the whole thing with Elon Musk, getting access to everyone's, social security and ID, because they ultimately they want to tie everything to that microchip, man.
And can I bring something out?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
So this is the book of 2 Corinthians 11:14, and it says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." And you notice how they call they name these things Genius Act, or Revolutionary Act, or whatever, right? They give them these crazy they give them these names that sound like they're for the good of the people, but they're really not. They're behind it. It's just a wicked scheme. This is what Esau does. He puts on this masquerade. It's just like everything's so good. He does the same thing with when they're killing babies. Or called Planned Parenthood. They make it sound so good. It's the same shit.
Yeah, and really, it's all part of his, Satan's devices, right? Right, to destroy the people, right? That's why the scripture says, we are not ignorant to Satan's devices. On top of that, that also goes with the precept, never trust thine enemy. For his iron rusteth, so does his wickedness, man. And if you read on down, it'll say, though he might try to help the, roughly paraphrasing, he wants to undermine you. And let's get that out. Never trust thine enemy. All right, so here it is, the book of Ecclesiasticus, the book of Sirach. Let's see. He starts picking up at verse 10. It says here, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so does his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his wrath hath not altogether been wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest he hath overthrown thee, and stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that has been with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast? So one that goeth to a sinner is defiled with him in his sins. Who will pity? And for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. Right? An enemy. All right, an enemy speaks sweetly with his lips, right? And that's what Esau, they use these fancy words like big beautiful bill, the Genius Act, Planned Parenthood, right? Right? He'll make it seem good, right? Hey, but in his heart he imagines how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood, and that's what Esau wants, man. He wants to destroy you people, you mainly you Israelites, right? And he wants to enslave and put you back in slavery. Well, he'll put you back in hardcore slavery, right? Because ultimately, right, this man wants that birthright back. He wants to do away with all Israelites, to try to get that birthright back. But we know it's all gonna come to naught, because that's what the Lord wants him to do. In order to push forth prophecy, right? In order, for the elect to get beamed up in this place to get nuked with thermonuclear destruction. All right. So we're gonna continue on.
Currency. Okay, you could just wake up in one morning, and you could go to your bank account, and all your money's gone. It's completely gone. Everything you've ever worked hard for in your entire life has been wiped away and deleted. I don't know if you had millions of dollars. Prove it. You sue us. We don't care. You take years in court. Prove it, because we see that your balance is 0.00. You know, think about all the people who have been debanked. I have friends that have been debanked. Okay, we did a Bank of America video last year. A lot of people and a lot of businesses have been debanked for no reason, and they got it back. The two people I know personally, but they had to fight for it, and there was no explanation given as to why this ever happened. So think about these people. I'm sure you know folks. Okay, so imagine if they debanked you in the age of cash currency that we can all hold right now. Imagine what they would do if tomorrow you had a digital currency right now. It'd be way more sinister, and they'd get away with it so much easier. And some of y'all might think this is an ad, and it's not. It just happened to be what we were talking about today. But this is exactly why I make sure we got silver, I got gold. Because look, you ain't going to debank me. You ain't going to freeze all my assets. I'm going to have something in case this kind of stuff happens, because it's going to take a while for them to actually roll this out. But if you got some gold bars, if you got some silver coins, you have some kind of net worth, y'all. So go to protectwithbuddy.com. You can hold it physically in your hands, bury it in your backyard like your grandparents did, like my Uncle Ray Ray still does to this very, very day. Y'all, I think about the time that Obama got in office back in 2009. Real money still existed, right? Back in 2015, it got tighter, but we could still manage. 2020, what do they hit us with? A virus. They hit us with super inflation all of a sudden, and then they hit us with lockdowns. 2023, you know, the grocery stores and the prices of the food just go through the roof. And now in 2025, we're just out here surviving. And by the way, on this Genius Act, it wasn't even close. What terrifies me more than anything in the world is when the Democrats and the Republicans, those dirty rats up there in Congress, all vote together. The vote was like 308 to 122. You know, we've had all these split down the middle things, and this was just everybody in Congress, all the rats saying, this is a great idea. A lot of Republicans have been conned into thinking that this Genius Act is going to bring the exciting new frontier of crypto. But Christians know the beast system is literally being rolled out. The book of Revelation is very, very specific about the monetary worldwide system. We're going to be taking place. A lot of y'all studied this. We've talked about it.
Yeah, and that's because, man, the government, like, whether it be Republican or Democrat, like they're all in on this, man. They're like, as Elder Malcolm says, they are the same wing. They're two of the same wings on that hateful bird, man. And that's like, and although they might be quote unquote Christian, like and Christianity, it was originally used, to enslave the minds of Jake, right? To push forward that Edomite, quote unquote, white. They're not really white; they're red. And Edomite superiority, and now. And now they're planning to do away with that, right? In order to roll out their new system, right? That, so they can track and monitor to monitor the people. They want that godlike control, man. They want to be they want to be omnipotent like Yahweh and like the Lord himself, man. Yeah, they want to be like the Most High, and let's get that precept to prove this, before we finish off the video. All right, so we're gonna read the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. And we're going to start at verse at verse 12, and it says here, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be cut, brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that maketh the world, that maketh the earth to tremble, and does shake kingdoms?" Right, because this damn devil, right, the Lord is purposely lifting up his pride. in order to push out this MOTB, right? So he ultimately fulfilled prophecy and him getting destroyed at the end of the day, right? Right, right. The Lord wants this to happen, so so he could so he could basically judge everyone on earth, right? Right. Like that's why it's called the hour of temptation, right, right that right right the Lord is using Esau to push out the MOTV, right, to see who is of his elect, and who's gonna get destroyed on this side, right? So let's get that KJV. All right, so this is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, starting at verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwelleth upon the earth. So it's gonna try everyone on the planet Earth, right? Right. Let's go to let's look this up in the blue letter, to prove to you that that's the whole world, not all right, because there are many definitions for world. Slocky, I'm gonna take the blue letter Bible. All right, here it is. Strong's.
Strong's G 3625, oikumene. Oikumene.
All right, oikumene, and so the word oikumene, right, means the whole world, right? So that really does mean everyone, right? Because if you look at the world and because Christians will like to, okay, well, and we already broken this down many times, but we're gonna say this again, right? Christians, they love to use John 3:16, right? For God so loved the world. Well. If you break down the word world in Strong's, that leads you that's the word there is cosmos, which means the governing body, and that specifically talks about the governing body of Israel only. He only loves Israel, and if you read later on Yahushua himself says, he's only come for the house of Israel. Oh, so well, but the point being
And
is
I was gonna bring out.
Slocky, yeah,
No,
hold on.
keep going. I have something to add on after you're done.
Yeah, but I was saying, the point being is right. The Lord's allowing Esau, to push out the MOTB, to test to test the whole world, right? Because this is gonna be the ultimate sifting process to see who is of his elect, 144,000 in the 1/3, and who's gonna be the 2/3 they're gonna get destroyed on this side. And again, the 1/3 and 2/3 scenario is gonna happen in Babylon the Great, right? Right. To see that's where the great deliverance is gonna happen. That's why we have to put our faith and the trust in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai, that he's gonna beam us up out of this hellhole. That's about to happen.
And I'm gonna add on something what you were saying. This is book of Second Ezra 6, chapter 6, verse 56. He says, "As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel." So these other nations, man, the Lord don't really give a shit about them. And these people saying, "Oh, the Lord care about the Gentiles, the Lord." The Lord, all the nations are from the Lord cares about all the nations. He don't, because if he did, man, he wouldn't have said, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated.
Eh,
You know,
Amen. And the one thing that people like to overlook, the Lord already promised all the nations, including Esau himself, to be servants unto Israel, man. And it say that in the book of Genesis, and let's get that, and we're gonna prove that right here. As thou but one. Genesis. All right, so so it was Genesis 27. Let's get that. So we're gonna get Genesis 27. And no, and again, he didn't steal the blessing. Like the Jacob didn't steal the blessing; it was already ordained by the Lord in heaven. Because Esau willfully sold his birthright. So they can cry about it all they want, man. All right, here it is. So yeah, so this is the book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 37. And it says here, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine I have sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son? Yeah, and that's right after when when Jacob was blessed with the birthright, right? Which is the kingdom of heaven, right? And right and right there was a clear cut. It says and all, and where it says all his brethren have I given to him for servants, meaning what they're gonna be, they're, like all the other nations, man. They're gonna be Israel's servants in the kingdom, man. uh, and they're that Salaki, that's right there, that was the promise that the Lord gave unto Israel. Not these fake small hats saying that, oh, it's been promised by 1,000 years that this item belongs to me. Like no, man. And that's and they no not they not the true people, man. They're obviously the imposters, right? Because they're still warring that land too. Ooh. And when Israel, right, when when we get the new spiritual bodies, right, starting off with the elect, right, we're never gonna sin again, right. So that means we can have spiritual powers, and we're gonna be able, to enforce, the law, statutes and commandments on earth, as it is in heaven, right. And all these other nations, they're gonna have no choice but to submit, or they're gonna get fucking destroyed, right. That's why that's why Isaac said what he said, that all his brethren, he has given them for servants. Why? Why? Because we know Isaac is and again, this is for you brothers that can get it. If you can get it, you can get it. If not, uh, uh you know pray to the Lord, man. For understanding, but we know spiritually, Isaac was Yahweh Shai. I mean, sorry, yeah, how I got that backwards. Yeah, Shai was Isaac, right? Right. So, right, so ultimately, it was the Lord that gave that gave Israel that birthright, that blessing, to ultimately rule all these nations, right, and for them to be subservient to them, right. That's why these other nations are basically seen as nothing. The Lord only cares about the nation of Israel. Well, that's why that's why we're going through what we're going through right now. Us being captivity. Us being underneath all these nations, right? Right. So so when we get to the kingdom, right, we know exactly. We know exactly what it's like being in this flesh, and suffering, but and suffering underneath the rule of these heathens, but also, right, it's so we know how to rule in righteousness, right? Because right now we're experiencing us living in a wicked rulership by these heathens, but in the kingdom, right? These heathens will know us like living in righteousness.
Sometimes it's you need to a lot of times actually you need to know experience some evils happen to you to understand what's good. It's the same thing. You might have a boss at work or something. You might have some fucking devil vexing you. You need to have these things happen to you to understand how this man really operates. You know.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, the Lord is a balanced power. You can't have good without evil. Uh, like as we know in the scriptures, an unjust way is an abomination to the Lord. The Lord uses both sides. And it's all for His purpose, man. Which is why the Lord, Bashim Shai, he is pushing this MOTV, so we can see who's elect are at the end of the day. Right, that's why us brothers, in the faith, right, we have to get spiritually ready, man. And you know, as other brother says, not getting distracted by the cares of this life. Like, I understand certain brothers are really busy. I myself am really busy. With my job, truck driving. Like, the last 2 weeks, was my peak season, right? Right. For my company, so I wasn't able to push that videos as consistently as I normally do. But so lucky about that. But we have to do the best we can, right? Right, to prove to the Lord, right, that to prove to the Lord that hopefully we'll be worthy for salvation to the kingdom. That's why we say we are the hopeful elect, because we don't know who the elect are. All right. So we're gonna finish this video, and then we're gonna play the next video by Shalom Israel.
A ton on this channel, and everyone who just voted for this Genius Act that they call it, just built the entire infrastructure for the beast system right before your very eyes, and nobody blinked. So like I said, whenever a major event rolls out, or it could be war, it could be a Super Bowl, it could be the NBA Finals, dive into the news and look and see what kind of bills they're actually trying to pass in these times. It is getting wild out there, y'all. And I just want to talk to you like a friend at a bonfire. Like I said, the Genius Act is very, very evil. And you ain't going to see it right now. You're probably going to see it in 2 or 3 years. And we're going to be looking back at 2025 and saying, remember when they passed that? This is exactly what I'm talking about. So look into gold and silver. The link is going to be below. And look, all I can say as far as our country boys, we say, yeah, we do invest in gold and silver.
All right, so I'm just going to stop the video right there. Like, it ain't going to be another 2 or 3 years. It's most likely going to be next year, man. Maybe we might have a couple of years, maybe. But I honestly don't see us going... Me speaking as a man, I don't see us going past 2026, and plus, 2026 is the 250-year mark of Babylon the Great, which is exactly how long the Roman Empire lasted. It lasted for exactly 250 years until it fell. So.
All right, now we'll play the next video.
Alright, so this one's by Shalom Israel 777.
You gonna play it the full part? Just play like the TikTok clip.
Okay. Alright. So, and I'm gonna show the copyright disclaimer again. We've already said this in the beginning, but we want to show it again repeatedly, just because we don't want to get a damn copyright strike by Esau. Alright, so.
So, I had been retired from my job for almost a year and a half. So I was just sitting around the house doing nothing. So I said, I'm going to go get me a job. So I chose to go work for Amazon and deliver package. When I tell y'all, this is the worst shit ever. My first day on the road, They gave me a truck full of packages to the rim. To the rim, you couldn't even see in the fucking truck. And they wanted me to get all that shit done in 4.5 hours. This shit is fucking crazy. Today, I had a stop today, y'all. A fucking stop today. 100 packages goes into this one building. I had to put each package individually in a fucking locker. 100 packages in each individual locker. But yet they telling me I'm taking too long. Literally taking too long. I'm in the downtown Chicago area. Everywhere I turn, it's people everywhere. You can't turn. You 10 minutes at a light. It's just fucking crazy, man. I tried it out just to see what it was about. I might not be going back to this because it's fucking slave work. They are getting slave work out of these workers and they pushing them. I swear to God, y'all, you don't even have time to get on the phone or talk to nobody. You barely have time to eat. If you take your 30-minute break with Amazon, you gonna be late with your route. You don't get no breaks. This shit is fucked up. And they keep pushing y'all. And then the violations, y'all. If you run a stop sign by mistake, you suspended. If you go through a yellow light that's already yellow, you suspended. It is a bullshit ass job. And I wanted to stick with it because I wasn't doing nothing. But fuck that. That's slave work and slave heat, and they don't give a goddamn about you at Amazon. This is real talk. I've been on the job for almost 3 weeks, y'all. They try.
Hey, Shalom, brother, Shalom.
All right, yeah. So you see, Jake out here catching fucking hell. And this is literally slave labor, man. So now you got this MOTB, right, coming out. You have this AI that they're having on the streets, AI robots. Now, next thing they what's it called? You know, all these things go hand in hand because these people, what's going to happen is they're going to be fed up with all that work. They're not going to get paid much. They're going to quit their jobs. They're going to get replaced, and they're going to get replaced by what? An AI, right? And then people are going to have no money. People are going to go crazy. People are going to start robbing, looting, revolting, you know, and they're going. That's how they're going to bring out order out of chaos, man. And this digital currency, because it's just going to be just it's going to be too crazy. Now, I'm going to bring out a verse. This is the book of Second Esdras 16:17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? And that's because Esdras, he actually saw himself, being there, during these times, and basically, it's gonna be a fucking crazy time, man. You're gonna have people, uh, losing their jobs. You're gonna have people. Not only that, but you're already seeing some Jakes out here. Also, what's it called? Getting some people out here getting taken up in the middle of the streets. So if they do these things in a green tree, what all they do when they dry, right? You have all these things happening. It's gonna get crazy, man. But imagine how it's gonna be when people got no more jobs, people got no more income. People they're gonna have nothing to do, so they're gonna start stealing. They're not gonna have any distraction. You know, they're gonna be fucked, man. Everyone's gonna get fucked. And this is why this place has to be destroyed, and we're seeing the signs of it collapsing right now.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, we in a previous video, we showed Tucker Carlson, talking about these banks, right? Basically raising people's interest rates, from that big beautiful bill, right? And motherfuckers can't afford to pay rent. They can't afford to pay medical expenses. man, and on top of them, they barely being able to afford food, man. Like you best believe there's gonna be riots soon because when people can't afford, when people can't work, or because they're already being monitored so much. When people can't afford to pay their basic living expenses, man, and man, these people are gonna go buck wild. Wow, oh man, they're not gonna care who their leaders are or the person next to them, man. Like we're gonna be in a scenario where it's gonna be every man for himself, right? And that takes me to to the scripture. Slakia, they shall not regard. All right, so this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. And it says here, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Yeah, and like you said, Brother Barack, motherfuckers, man, they gonna be breaking into people's houses just to get that last pack of ketchup, man, or that last pack of fucking wasabi or whatever, man.
Yep. People are gonna even go as far as eating their own children. You already seen Eve put her baby in the fucking the toaster. You know, you're already seeing a fucking woman out in the street. A random dude will. You saw one woman in New York. A random dude in the middle of a train station. Walk up to her and try to grab her right there. These people, man. They're already bugging out right now. What the fuck's gonna happen when there's no more laws? When there's no more jobs and there's people aren't gonna get paid anymore. It's gonna be a purge. You know, this shit it's just gonna be complete calamity. And then these other nations and stuff too. They're gonna even that's when their time. When they try to they're gonna try to take that opportunity as a way to take over. Because when a house is divided against itself, it's not gonna be able to stand. So then they're gonna see it as a time to even put up more black swan events. You know.
And I'm glad you're saying that, right? Because ultimately, right, like, what we're seeing right now, man, is the collapse of Esau Edom's kingdom in real time, man. Before. Before COVID, man, literally not even that long ago. I still remember this, man. These Edomites, they're haughty. They're proud. Now what's happening, right? They're languishing. They're in a state of mourning. Why? Because they're seeing their kingdom coming to an end, right? Right. So we're gonna close off with this precept right here. Unless you have something else to add on. The haughty people do. Let's see. All right, it says here. This is a book of Isaiah, chapter 24, verse 4. And it says here, "The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left." And that's exactly what's gapping, man. And when Yahweh Shem Shai will send these ICBM missiles as soon as they mass implement that MOTB, that micro C hip, right? You know, all right. And if you have anything else to add, we're gonna end off the lesson right here.
Yeah, that's it, brother.
All right. So with that, we hope this video has been edifying, to your Akim and few Akwath. And with that, we like to give, we like to say, call Halayim La, Abanawa, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kadash. All right, double honors and respect to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and taught us this truth. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect to the 1/3. His brother Salah.
Brother Brock.
And with that, we have to say Shalom.
Shalom.